The official report concluded a simple tragedy, but the soil at the fall site tells a story of systematic erasure. A story that the observer risked everything to document before the evidence vanished forever. In the heavy, suffocating atmosphere that followed the catastrophic event surrounding Menglong, an absolute silence descended upon the Xiaodongduangguang residential area. This was the place where the victim took his final breath, a location now shrouded in countless layers of mystery and whispered rumors. Most residents chose to remain silent, either out of fear of the powerful forces standing behind the incident, or because they did not want to be entangled in a complex event that far exceeded their understanding. However, amidst this silence, a spark of courage unexpectedly flickered. A resident of this very complex, whom we shall call the observer, decided that the truth could not be buried along with the victim. Disregarding the tangible and intangible risks that could befall themselves and their family, this individual began a solitary journey to seek justice. Using anonymous social media platforms and closed forums, the observer started posting articles, analyses, and sharp questions. They did not act on impulse. Instead, the information was presented systematically, continuously, and with careful calculation. Each new post was a piece of a puzzle, a direct challenge to the official version of the story being circulated. They meticulously gathered small details that others overlooked, recording abnormalities at the scene that the authorities seemed to intentionally ignore. The actions of this individual were not merely about posting news, it was a declaration. They were living right at the eye of the storm, passing through key locations of the case every day, and that constant presence provided them with a unique perspective. They became the voice for those who dared not speak, a lighthouse for those who still held on to the hope of truth. This incredible persistence quickly drew attention, not only from the online community hungry for information, but also from the forces attempting to bury the case. Danger was imminent, but the observer understood that if they stopped, the darkness would win completely. The persistence of the observer at Xiaodongduangguang clearly reached the limit of endurance for certain individuals. Their bravery, though shielded by the internet, could not be entirely hidden from the eyes closely monitoring the area. On October 22nd, a retaliatory move took place. The resident received a stern reminder, a direct and unmistakable warning message. The content of the warning was very specific. They were ordered not to go upstairs to take photos in the area surrounding Menglong's residence. This was not an ordinary piece of advice. The detailed nature of this command showed that those behind it had been closely watching the observer's behavior. They knew exactly what this person was doing, trying to gather photographic evidence from a high floor, which could provide a more comprehensive view of the crime scene and the suspicious activities surrounding it. This threat was a clear effort to cut off the supply of critical visual information and blind the only witness who dared to act. Following the warning, the observer was forced to temporarily retreat into silence. The invisible pressure became heavy. However, this silence was not a surrender, but a gathering of strength, waiting for a moment. That moment arrived on a day of profound spiritual significance. The 49th day after Menglong passed away is known as the 7-week ceremony. According to belief, this is the time when the soul performs its final transition. It was on this special day that the observer decided to break the imposed silence. They not only resumed posting, but also performed a symbolic and defiant act. They personally went to Building 18, the very building from which Menglong was said to have fallen. Under covert surveillance, they performed a commemorative act. But this action was not just for mourning. By appearing at the exact location of the fall on the 49th day, the observer was sending a powerful message. It was a message to the soul of the deceased that the fight for the truth continues, and a public challenge to those who had warned them. We are still here. We do not forget, and we are not afraid. The return of the observer on the 49th day did not only hold spiritual meaning. It marked a new stage in this civil investigation, where concrete evidence began to be released. Only a few days later, on November 1st, the 52nd day of the case, a shocking revelation was made that shook all initial hypotheses about the death of Menglong. The Observer published information accompanied by photographic evidence they had risked taking, showing that the location where Yu Menglong first fell was not the cement ground or any hard surface as people had believed. The victim had fallen onto a patch of grass. The importance of this detail was immense. Falling onto grass could explain why the initial sounds were not very loud, and more importantly, it opened the possibility that the victim was still alive after the first fall. But the key point of this revelation did not lie in the grass itself, but in its current condition. The photos provided by the Observer showed an undeniable sight. The entire grass area, identified as the fall point, had been completely dug up. The ground was no longer level. The grass was overturned and the soil was disturbed in a deliberate manner. This act was not routine garden maintenance. It bore every sign of an organized effort to destroy evidence. Any traces, such as the indentation of the body, personal items that might have fallen out, or biological signs, were completely destroyed by this act of digging. This discovery was immediately linked to and reinforced by the account of another witness who had previously reported seeing someone sneakily digging something in the area on the very night Yu Menglong passed away. Two pieces of information, one from the Observer and one from an anonymous witness, now fit together perfectly. The hypothesis of a simple suicide began to shatter. It was clear that a large-scale scene-cleaning operation had taken place immediately after the incident occurred, with the sole purpose of erasing every physical trace that could lead to the truth. The digging of the grass was only the tip of an iceberg in the activity of concealing the truth. The brave Observer, after publishing evidence of the disturbed scene, continued to release other chilling details they had gathered, painting a comprehensive picture of the cruelty and organization of those behind the scenes. One of the most shocking revelations involved Fu Li, the name given to the pet that Yu Menglong deeply loved. According to information from the Observer, the body of Fu Li was found discarded in a nearby bush. What is noteworthy is the timing of the event. Fu Li did not die at the same time as his owner. Analysis of sources showed that the small animal was killed on the same day as Yu Menglong, but its body was discarded in the bush 2 days later. This 2-day delay is an extremely suspicious detail. It refutes the possibility that this was a random accident. Why keep the animal's body for 2 days before disposing of it? Was it part of a larger plan? Or did the perpetrators return to the scene multiple times to clean up what remained? The act of killing a pet, an innocent life, also demonstrated the level of brutality and the determination to erase every emotional link of the victim. Parallel to the discovery about Fu Li, other witnesses in the Xiaodong-Duangguang area began to speak out. Though still in secret, they described seeing unidentified men dressed in black in the residential area immediately after the case occurred. These individuals did not look like residents or visitors. They moved with a specific purpose. Their attitude was described as aggressive and full of intimidation. These black shadows walked around the premises, especially around Building 18, with the appearance of performing an assigned task. They observed, controlled, and seemingly ensured that no one could approach or record anything unusual. The presence of this group, combined with the upturned grass and the body of Fu Li being discarded after 2 days, reinforced a terrifying hypothesis. A professional team had been deployed to Xiaodong-Duangguang to control the scene, threaten witnesses, and wipe away all evidence. The truth about the fall point not being cement but grass opened up the possibility that the victim was still alive after the initial fall. But what happened next? If you suspect any detail or have seen something similar in the shadows of your own neighborhood, please leave a comment below and subscribe to ensure you do not miss the critical evidence coming in the next chapter. Your support helps us bring these hidden tragedies into the light. While the physical evidence at Xiaodong-Duangguang was gradually being revealed, another front of the investigation, the digital front, suddenly had a major breakthrough. For a long time, the public had known about the existence of a cat-eye video recorded through a peephole on a door. That video, although of very blurry quality, captured the scene of Yu Menglong in an unconscious state being carried away by a group of people. Notably in the old cat eye video, the silhouette of a woman believed to strongly resemble Song Yiren was seen holding a phone to record the entire event. Now a new video has appeared and spread with lightning speed. This footage is of much clearer quality than the original cat eye video, appearing as if it were filmed from a different angle or with a better device. The content of this new footage focuses on the violent actions that occurred immediately before Menglong was taken away. The new video clearly shows a man with a stature and face identified by the online community as very similar to Fan Shiki, along with two other men, performing an act of breaking down a door. They did not knock on the door or call out in a normal manner. Instead, they used continuous force to smash a door, seemingly trying to burst inside. The location of this destruction was quickly identified. It was not at Xiaodong Duangguang, but was strongly suspected to be at Jiamifengshang. This coincidence is pivotal. Jiamifengshang is precisely where the original cat eye video was believed to have been filmed. The appearance of this clear video is of immense importance. It directly links Fan Shiki, a related suspect, to an act of violent door smashing at the very location where Menglong was filmed in a state of lost control in the cat eye video. It shows that the incident was not an ordinary meeting of friends, but began with a break-in or coercion. These two videos, one blurry and one clear, now complement each other, reconstructing a sequence of events that is becoming increasingly clear. Menglong was forcibly restrained by a group of people, including Fan Shiki and Song Yiren, at Jiamifengshang, before being taken to the final location, Xiaodong Duangguang. While physical evidence and videos were creating shocks, another direction of investigation focusing on audio data opened a new and threatening detail. A short audio recording allegedly leaked and spread on the secure messaging app Telegram caught the special attention of the author, Da Yu. This audio recorded the voice of a man uttering brutal words, filled with violence and a disregard for human life. The content of this short conversation was an undisguised threat. "So what if a man bleeds a little? You are lucky I did not beat you to death." The statement, though short, contains extreme cruelty and a readiness to use extreme force. It does not sound like an ordinary argument, but evokes the context of a serious case of torture or assault. The author Da Yu spent time performing a detailed audio comparison analysis. He placed this mysterious recording alongside many public voice samples of Dan Qi, one of the figures under suspicion. Da Yu focused on basic acoustic characteristics, the depth of the voice, the way words were enunciated, and especially a prominent identifying feature. The results of his analysis pointed to an alarming similarity. The voice in the Telegram recording possesses a deep, rough, and somewhat hoarse tone. According to Da Yu's assessment, these characteristics are very similar to the timbre and intonation Dan Qi displays in public interviews and speeches. Although this is not yet a forensic conclusion, this match in timbre has added a heavy layer of suspicion, tying Dan Qi to a direct act of violence, consistent with the darkest hypotheses surrounding the case. As the storm of public opinion and investigation tightened, the reactions of the individuals involved became extremely different, revealing much about their psychology and position. Most of those named fell into a state of chaos. Shuangguang almost evaporated without a trace. Zheng Chengtong and Tian Hairong fell into a public war of words online, continuously making accusations against each other. Even Fan Shiki, after the door-smashing video was released, was forced to hurriedly issue a press release, trying to extinguish the rising fire. In that chaotic and battered context, one character appeared completely calm, even defiant: Song Yiren. The woman suspected of holding the phone to record Menglong being led away in the cat eye video showed no signs of hiding or fear. On the contrary, her personal page was constantly updated. Song Yiren continuously posted staged photos, boasting about entertainment activities, travel, and enjoying a luxurious life. Radiant smiles, fashionable outfits, and luxurious locations all created a gruesome contrast with the serious nature of the case in which she is a central link. This behavior goes far beyond mere heartlessness. It was analyzed and viewed by the online community as a deliberate act. It was not silence to wait for things to settle down, but a public declaration of war. By flaunting her peace in the middle of the storm, Song Yiren seemed to be sending a hidden message. She cannot be touched. This is considered an act of intimidation, an assertion of power, and the protection she believes she possesses. Despite public outrage and other suspects struggling, Song Yiren outwardly appeared to be winning the psychological war, flaunting her invulnerability. However, behind the velvet curtain of the entertainment industry, another purge was silently taking place. The cheerful face of the actress hid the reality that her backyard, her support base, was actually on fire. Internal news from the film production world began to leak. Reliable sources revealed that, regardless of whether Song Yiren was touched by the law, the industry had decided to act on its own. A silent but extremely decisive ban on broadcasting and cancellation was issued against her. This was not a public statement, but a systematic erasure. The clearest manifestation of this ban was that film projects involving Song Yiren suddenly encountered serious problems. A movie she starred in, which had been completed and was waiting for approval, was suddenly removed from the registration and censorship system of the Film Bureau. This removal meant the film would permanently have no chance of being released in theaters or broadcast. Financial consequences immediately struck. Investors who poured capital into this project faced massive losses, estimated at hundreds of millions of yuan. This event sent a chilling signal to the entire investment and production world. Song Yiren was now box office poison, an unacceptable risk. Although she might be free to jump around, her career in the film industry had, in fact, been quietly terminated. While the suspects descend into chaos or flaunt their untouchable status, the industry has begun its own silent execution. But what ancient ritual connects this modern tragedy to a ghost from 2016? Does the calm demeanor of a suspect ever truly mean innocence, or is it the ultimate mask of a predator? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe as we prepare to enter the dark heart of the 798 Art District in our next chapter. The case of Menglong unexpectedly turned in a more complex direction as it began to intersect with an old tragedy of the entertainment industry: the death of Chao Renliang in 2016. This connection was sparked by the strange actions of Zheng Chengtong. On October 15th, he suddenly posted 3 consecutive articles on social media to commemorate Chao Renliang. The timing and frequency of this act, while the Menglong case was burning hot, caused many to ask questions. It did not look like an ordinary remembrance. Many analysts believe this was a hidden message, an illusion that evidence related to both cases was about to be erased. The most terrifying hypothesis was quickly connected to an art event that took place shortly before. On October, at the famous 798 Art District in Beijing, an artist named Wu Diaokao organized a private exhibition. In this exhibition, a specific work haunted those who witnessed it: a bloody human skeleton. This work was not only gruesome in form. Those who viewed the exhibition or photos before they were taken down made a horrifying observation. That skeleton had identity characteristics and a stature very similar to Chao Renliang. A link was immediately formed. Could it be that Zheng Chengtong, by posting about Chao Renliang, was implying the skeleton at 798 was the physical evidence or a simulation? A symbolic threat related to the death of Chao Renliang that now also had a connection to the tragedy of Menglong. The 798 district, once an art center, was suddenly covered by a dark shadow of crime. The rise of doubts surrounding the death of Chao Renliang triggered public interest in reopening the old case. In that context, a media channel in Taiwan, called 204 Dangan, famous for exploiting spiritual themes and mysterious cases, decided to approach the tragedy of Chao Renliang in a non-traditional way. They organized a 2-hour program, promoted as a direct dialogue with the soul of the late actor. Using psychic methods, the team asked a series of questions about what really happened on that fateful night in 2016. This program, though controversial in methodology, brought information that made viewers shudder. A viewer with the nickname Momo Princess spent time listening carefully and trying to decode the messages allegedly from Qiao Renliang. The details she claimed to have decoded confirmed the darkest rumors about Qiao's death and provided new clues directly pointing to specific forces and locations. When the program team asked about the physical evidence collected at the time of the 2016 case, evidence that could prove it was a murder, the answer allegedly from the Seoul was clear: Beijing. This localized the geography of the conspiracy, confirming that the evidence was not in Shanghai, where the case occurred, but had been moved to the center of political power. The next question was vital. Is there any chance of finding that evidence now? The response received was a total extinguishing of all hope. No more. These two words implied a comprehensive and successful destruction of evidence. But perhaps the most disturbing detail appeared when asked who leaked the information, or who was the mastermind. The answer did not name an individual, but described the scale of the incident as something that would change the whole country. This decoding implies extreme severity. The truth, if exposed, would not just be a criminal case, but a political earthquake capable of shaking the entire superstructure of the nation. The spiritual investigation of 204 Dangan continued to dig into the violent details. When asked about the killer, the Seoul allegedly provided two key pieces of information. First, the opponent has a gun. This detail immediately rejected the official suicide scenario involving a plastic bag. It confirmed an armed, violent confrontation. The second piece of information was even scarier: country. This word once again pointed to the involvement of a state-level organization, rather than a personal conflict. The program also addressed one of the most gruesome legends: the rumor of a severed hand, sent to actress Lu Jiarong as a savage warning. When asked if this story was true, the recorded answer was a firm double affirmation: true, true. Finally, when asked about rumors involving body dismemberment or serious desecration after death, the response was brief but enough to terrify. Very terrible. It confirmed that what happened to the victim's body went far beyond an ordinary death. It was a deliberate act of destruction. The word country revealed in the program became the key for author Da Yu to analyze and link the two seemingly separate cases. This resonance matched persistent rumors from 2016 that a Chinese soldier, belonging to the People's Liberation Army, was present at the scene of Qiao Renliang's death. Military involvement would explain the rapid information blockade and absolute silence. Da Yu immediately linked this to the tragedy of Menglong. If Qiao Renliang's case had the shadow of the military, Menglong's case was full of evidence of police presence. Evidence from witnesses at Xiaodong Duangguang indicated that the Chinese police were not just there to investigate after the fact. There were signs they were present at the scene in a shadowy role, perhaps as accomplices or direct participants. Specifically, the name of the director of the Public Security Bureau of Chaoyang District was repeatedly mentioned. A terrifying pattern began to emerge. Both young stars died in suspicious circumstances, and both cases had clear traces of state apparatus intervention. The doubts surrounding the skeleton at 798 were now explored through the lens of metaphysics. A viewer claiming deep knowledge of Eastern metaphysical fate lore suggested that the name 798 was not random. Numbers 7 and 9 are closely related to the Big Dipper constellation, while 8 represents the Bagua. In esoteric theories, 9 is the ultimate yang number, often used in rituals involving soul-locking or suppression points. The viewer proposed that the works displayed, like Wu Diaocao's skeleton, were not art but components of a ritual. One such ancient forbidden technique is non-by, human skin clothing, where the skin of another person is used to create a garment. The purpose is either to inherit spiritual power and luck from the victim, or to suppress the soul, making it impossible for the deceased to transcend, forever imprisoned and enslaved by another. The skeleton's appearance at 798, combined with metaphysical interpretations, raised a peak suspicion. Was the basement of this art district actually a hidden Tadan, altar, used for savage rituals? This also explained why the body or parts of it had to be moved through many locations, from Jiami Fengshang to 798, and then to Xiaodongduangguang or the Qihao Art Museum. This was not disorganized disposal, but a technique to create a soul displacement effect. By deliberately moving the body through different spaces, those performing the ritual caused the victim's soul to fall into a state of orientation disorder. In this state of extreme confusion, the soul would not know where it belonged and could not find its way back, becoming weak and easily captured, sealed, or controlled for dark purposes. The final piece of this macabre puzzle lay waiting in the Qihao Art Museum, where a statue resembling the victim's bright moonlight idol stood as a silent witness to a crime beyond human comprehension. But was it art, or was it a trophy of the ritual? Could the very places we visit for inspiration be the altars of ancient forbidden sacrifices? As we approach the final revelation, ask yourself, how much of the truth are we willing to see? Subscribe now to witness the conclusion of this dark journey. The borders between art and crime have blurred. The fire at 798 is out, but the whispers of the trapped souls still echo in the silence of the museum. The final pieces of this macabre puzzle reveal a picture that is as calculated as it is cruel. At the Qihao Art Museum, located within the ultra-secure and luxurious Hotel Bu, a shocking discovery was made during an exhibition titled Infinite Boundary. Among the works was a sculpture titled Trui Engu, Chasing Fish, featuring a woman whose facial features and hair were an uncanny match for the famous actress Zhou Xun. This was no coincidence. During his life, Yu Menglong had publicly adored Zhou Xun, calling her his bright moonlight, his unattainable ideal. Placing the victim's body at the same location as a simulated figure of his idol was a final, sadistic mockery by the masterminds. Even more chilling is the linguistic overlap. While the murderers used the infinite boundary as a cover, Yu Menglong's own cancelled exhibition was titled Unfinished Boundary. They did not just take his life, they invaded his creative soul and stained his artistic legacy with a ritualistic sacrifice. While the legal system remains stalled, a different kind of justice has begun to move in the shadows. Song Yiren, despite her defiant smiles and luxury vacations, has been quietly erased from the industry through a decisive, systemic blacklisting. Her films have been pulled from censorship systems, and investors face losses of hundreds of millions of yuan. She is now box office poison, a risk no one will touch. Yet the horror extends beyond lost careers. The British spiritual leader, William, has issued a grave warning. Yu Menglong's soul is not at rest. He is actively hunting those who harmed him from the afterlife. More disturbingly, William claims that the victim's family and allies have been abducted and are being held in private prisons. Black sites operated by entities linked to the state's security apparatus, much like the water dungeons found in the Wohushan Zhuang. What has been achieved in the pursuit of truth? Has a killer been identified? Or has one ancient evil simply been replaced by a modern, more powerful fear? The flame of the investigation still flickers, but the forces of the country are vast and the evidence has been systematically destroyed. Yu Menglong remains at the unfinished boundary of his life and his art. Did he save anything? Or was he just a piece in a ritual he never understood? The fire has died, but the whisper is still there, waiting for you to join the next rite. If this journey into the dark intersections of fame and the occult has moved you, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement is the only thing that keeps these stories from being erased forever. Subscribe now so you do not miss our next investigation into the shadows.